Boruto and Momoshiki could unite against the Otsutsuki clan once the story enters the universal saga. The silence of the demigod is not just intriguing to the main duo, but also the readers who are unable to find any hint about Momoshiki's mischievous disappearance. The most common assumptions include some evil cooking, which could eventually turn around the whole plot of the story. The Otsutsuki could make a comeback with an aura 10 times stronger than Jura, explaining why everyone is afraid of his inactivity. In a previous video, we broke down the mindful tactics of Momoshiki and how him being silent is a foolproof hint of a huge plot twist. He may be worried about Boruto getting to know of his plans, so maybe that's why he's now cooking his next big move in silence. That's also a good theory, and I recommend you to watch that one too if you haven't already. But for today's video, I decided to take a dive deep into the tales of Momotaro, the folklore that inspired the character of Momoshiki, and the hints that I found while studying this folk story lines up pretty well with how the Otsutsuki is acting right now. So turn that sub button into a chakra fruit and eat it as we analyze the redemption of Momoshiki and his forthcoming war with the Otsutsuki clan. Kishimoto was definitely fascinated with the Japanese folklores when he introduced the newer Otsutsukis in his story. The alien trio that came right after Kaguya were derived from different folk characters. Momoshiki, Urashiki and Kinshiki were based upon Momotaro, Urashima Taro and Kintaro respectively. All the Otsutsuki share some similarity or attributes with these folk characters. Like Urashiki serves as a dark reimagining of the classic tale of Urashima Taro, incorporating elements of the original story into a villainous character. Both the characters are associated with fishing rods. Urashima Taro can be seen using it to catch a magical turtle, while Urashiki wields it as a weapon. The anime even showed us Urashiki traveling through time, which is also an element from the tale of Urashima Taro. The time-traveling turtle and the Dragon Palace seal are also a part of the same story. As for Kinshiki, he could have been inspired from Kintaro, a Japanese folk figure who was known for his immense strength and heroism. He used to fight with an axe, which is kinda similar to the weapon used by Kinshiki or Otsutsuki. But when it comes to Momoshiki, there's a lot more in the bag than just surface level similarities. He was based on Momotaro the Peach Boy, where the story starts off with a childless old couple who mysteriously obtain a large peach in the river, and to their surprise, it opens with a baby boy inside. The old couple think of it as a gift from God, and Momotaro eventually grows up to become a strong warrior. One day he finds out about the island of demons, so he decides to go there to destroy them all. He also makes 3 friends on the way, a dog, a monkey and a pheasant. Now when we connect the dots back to Momoshiki, first we have his elemental creatures that he summoned out of nowhere, a giant lava monkey, a phoenix, and some canine-like characters that he manifested through this ability, which literally translates to dog raising robust lord. You could even argue his appearance is taken from Peach too, but this is definitely not the end of the foreshadowing that the folklore has set up for Momoshiki. With the recent plot developments where the Otsutsuki has literally ceased to exist, it seems like something big is on its way for the story, and this time it may not be a twist that would make Momoshiki the big bad guy, rather it's something way more interesting and sensible. Going back to the folklore of Momotaro, he seems to have been gifted by God to the old couple, implying this to Momoshiki's plot. It may be an indication of Shibai Otsutsuki planning out the meetup and fusion between Boruto and the monster. It was said by Momoshiki that Otsutsukis are immune to omnipotence, but looking at how Shibai was able to divinely intervene in Boruto's life to save him from death, I'm pretty much sure he's pulling the strings from behind. He deliberately made Boruto's life worse with the introduction of Momoshiki, and looking at how it all connects with the verse of Jura, it makes a good amount of sense. We will understand this connection part in depth, but let's first go back to the second hint from the tale of Momotaro, which could decide the next big thing in Momoshiki's destiny. It is narrated that Momotaro decides to visit the demon island after he comes to know about their evil deeds. The demons here are Oni or Ogre, who are typically portrayed with a horn on their head. So what demon-like creatures in the story of Boruto have got horn on their heads? Well, it's the Otsutsukis, and this is where everything lines up perfectly. Momoshiki, after spending years within Boruto's consciousness, must have become a part of his mighty fate. The way their minds have been merging, he must be able to understand the ideals of his vessel much better than before. To demonstrate this in a way simpler manner, up until the time when Boruto was roaming around with the Karma curse, it was Momoshiki who was in dominance and could have influenced his thoughts and personality as well. But ever since they both have become one, thanks to the fatal blow of Kawaki, it seems like the tables have turned for the Otsutsuki. Instead of making Boruto just like him, he seems to be becoming more like his vessel, which may be why he has went into a grave silence for 3 entire years. He is getting intertwined with the thought process and personality of Boruto, which is kind of an effortless redemption for him based on how merciless he was in the beginning of the story. So the new mission of Momoshiki could be to enter the realm of Otsutsukis and help Boruto in destroying them one by one. One of the reasons that make me see this as the most plausible turnover of Momoshiki's legacy has something to do with the nature of Otsutsuki creatures and how we haven't been exposed to a solid way which ensures the redemption of these beings. But looking at how Toneru and Kaguya were the only Otsutsuki creatures who were somehow humanized, it seems like the redemption of Momoshiki after fusing with Boruto was inevitable, since it must have made him feel human and connect to his vessel on a deeper level. This humanization of the Otsutsuki could take the story into a completely different direction and could even effortlessly set the scene for intergalactic travels. It also clears a big mystery from the flash forward sequence where Kawaki seems to have given up to kill Boruto. Although he seems in control of his powers, it's pretty weird for Kawaki to change his mind out of nowhere when he clearly considered Momoshiki a major threat back in chapter 15. So the best possible scenario must be that Momoshiki is no longer a threat, which is why Kawaki now wants to save Boruto. The way the karma is being used fearlessly by the prodigy in the future also hints at Momoshiki turning a brand new leaf. Another big reason for Momoshiki to team up with Boruto against the Otsutsuki clan could get revealed to us in his potential backstory. There must be a concrete reason behind the ideology of the Otsutsukis and why they are the way they are. A system of brutal destruction runs through each and every member of the clan, with all of them craving power for the ultimate goal of attaining godhood. A concept that I mentioned in my last video discussed a cycle of destruction which is followed by every Otsutsuki member. So Momoshiki being the first one to break through this cycle after staying fused with a human for over 3 years is a major possibility. I have seen people on Reddit arguing against the odds of Momoshiki having a Kurama style development where he would get redeemed by the goodness of his vessel. Well, those people are actually right. Momoshiki indeed cannot have a development like Kurama since he belongs to a clan of merciless aliens who only crave power, and it's only a very rare turn of events when these creatures feel sympathy towards human beings. Under normal circumstances, Momoshiki had no reason to sympathize with Boruto, but after becoming one with his heart and soul, chances are he's secretly turning a new leaf. Coming back to the fundamental basis of the union between Momoshiki and Boruto is the doing of Shibai Otsutsuki, and that's something we shouldn't forget. But instead of talking about the divine entanglement that the entity has brought up in Boruto's life, let's talk about Momoshiki and why his horn looks so similar to the deity in Boruto's demigod form. Last year I talked about theories such as Momoshiki being the real Shibai Otsutsuki, and even with the recent developments, that theory still holds some weight. But that's not going to be the topic of discussion right now. Rather, it could be that Momoshiki got mutated with the cells of Shibai, which awakened some divine essence within him. The thesis behind this theory comes from the time when Mitsuki used Boruto's blood to create antibodies and inject them into Boruto's body. And since we now know that he was modified with the cells of Shibai, it's not unlikely for Boruto to inherit the divine DNA during this transplantation. Considering how he's now fused together with Momoshiki, there's a good amount of chance that the Shibai cells mutated with the Otsutsuki too. And since these cells can be used to unlock Shinjutsu in cyborgs, what could go down when it comes in contact with an Otsutsuki being? Well, I guess we already know the answer. The benevolence of Shibai Otsutsuki could have manifested in Momoshiki after he came in contact with the divine cells. You may have noticed the Otsutsuki beings being too dedicated on their goals of devouring the planet, but none of them considered the possibility of capturing the remains of Shibai Otsutsuki to unlock his Shinjutsu. The godly remains could have made them immensely powerful, but none of them took that opportunity. So why is it like that? Why didn't Jigen just use the Shibai remains to upgrade himself or the other Otsutsukis like Momoshiki and Urashiki? What made them not seek this divine corpse on the planet if it was literally a once-in-a-lifetime bounty? Well, if the redemption of Momoshiki theory comes true, it's very likely that absorbing the remains of an Otsutsuki god can redeem these celestial beings from their cycle of destruction. Just think about it. What was the need of Shibai to discard his mortal body after becoming a god? He could have lived on in the same universe, wandering from one galaxy to another, but there was literally no purpose for such being to do such thing. Likely because he was above the struggling mortal beings. He must have understood the fundamentals of existence, which must have given him a saint-like stature, a spiritual state where an entity would take authority of his divine duty. The first step of Shibai after attaining godhood must be to do something benevolent for this universe, which is evident from the fact that he's helping out Boruto. So the divine cells unlocking the essence of the Otsutsuki god among his clan members is a pretty decent possibility in my eyes, and could help us to explain the redemption of Momoshiki a lot better. You can find out more about the domain of gods and Boruto's mission to godhood in these videos. Let me know in the comments what you want me to to cover on this channel, and I will see you next time.